got some new things. For some of you, Susan will be new. For some of you, you've met her before up in Sydney, but she's going to be our team leader for the next couple of weeks. And so fasten your seatbelts. We're going to have some fun.
I look really racy, aren't I?
Fran White is one of our Victorians, and she's here with us for this week and new to most of you, but obviously some of you know her from around the traps here. So your name tags are out. Thank you for those that have put them on. Otherwise, if you don't want to wear them, put them on your mat just to give these guys a bit of a chance to figure out who you are. The other thing that's new this time is I'm sick of running around with the microphone and people talking without it. This is a microphone. And so if you want to say something, just wave and someone will throw that at you. And you pick up your voice. That's all right.
No, it's designed for that.
It is.
That's amazing.
So,
Okay.
you guys,
my microphone?
You can have it for the minute. Yeah, we're light on batteries.
And you hold it down. No? On?
Yeah, you just hold a couple of seconds.
Okay. You're on? Yep. All right, I'll put it down here. Okay, well maybe we'll have a little sit. Okay, so welcome, and I'll just move around a bit and you can turn me up and down. So I'm Susan Hillier and I come from Adelaide. What would you like to know? Sydney people, what do you think Melbourne people would like to know? Been a Feldenkrais practitioner, Fran and I trained together. 1988. Bloody hell. And I trained in Melbourne with Fran, so I used to come across here for 8 weeks every year back then. My original training was as a physio, but I did Feldenkrais quite quickly after I graduated. So it's always been relatively easy for me to have a kind of a double practice. And my physio work has always been in neurological rehab, not sort of the pushy. I do that for physios. No, Marissa knows when I do that. This is the Adelaide thing. You know, that kind of physio. I wasn't that kind of physio. So don't ask me about, you know, musculoskeletal stuff with physio. It's not my thing. So my current job is that I still have a Feldenkrais practice. I still do about 6 hours a week, but pretty much only FI because I travel a lot. So it's hard for me to keep an ATM practice going when I travel so much. But my main job at the moment is working at the university. So mostly now I still do a little bit of teaching, and my teaching area is neuroscience. Not it's in an allied health school. But I teach neuroscience, so it's more clinical neuroscience. And probably the other 40% of my time I do research in clinical neuroscience mostly. So that's me.
You have a son?
I have a son, I have a stepson. I have a second step grandchild as of Thursday morning.
When did that happen?
Thursday morning. Well, the original event was 9 months before, which I had nothing to do with. So yes, I am a step grandma by 2.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. When step's kind of weird. Who's a step parent? Step. Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? It's weird. Sorry? Yeah, it's just weird. Yeah, well, yes and no. Yes and no. You know, I'm not, and I am. So I probably told you too much. Fran.
Does this work?
Yeah.
I have to do this? Oh my God, that feels so weird.
See how
I could do that. Okay, so my name is Francesca White. I became Fran when I moved to Australia from Chile. It's all right. I grew up in Chile, in South America. And I've lived here a long time, 40 years. So I guess my original training was in psychotherapy, psychodrama. I was a Montessori kindergarten teacher to begin with. I'm very interested in children and how they learn. And then I met the Feldenkrais method. So everything else went by the side of the road, and here I am. I was trained with Susan by Frank Wildman. We started in 1988. We were the first Melbourne training program, and there were 120 of us. So we were the biggest training program outside of Amherst. And wasn't that a pain in the neck?
The challenge.
A real challenge, yes. But on the other hand, because we were so many, we had just about every trainer in the world came to teach us. So we had a lot of role models to choose from. 3 trainers and 4 assistant trainers every segment. So in a way, we were lucky. I became very interested in the use of the voice and how Feldenkrais can be of help with singers and actors, and very lucky to get a job at the Victorian College of the Arts. As she loses her voice.
It's not just luck, can I just say. There's quite a big element of skill and talent. And
for 12 years, I taught 2 Feldenkrais classes to 45 students at the Victorian College of the Arts drama course, and their teachers often came. So that was a fantastic learning for me, learning how to teach ATM and how to string them together and how to feel what the group needs in terms of ATMs. And then Melbourne University has changed its name to the Conservatorium of Music, employ me on a part-time basis to work with singing opera singers, students of opera. And I've developed a lot of work with the pelvic floor and Feldenkrais. And I've been an assistant trainer for ever, it seems. And I, like you, travel around a lot, so I'm hard to catch. But when I'm here, I have a divine 2.5-year-old granddaughter called Scout.
That's cute.
Yeah. What else? I'm married to a singer and a Feldenkrais practitioner. We met at the Miami training program. So that's about it, really.
Great. Thank you, Francesca.
This is fun.
Would you like us to call you Fran or Francesca?
Fran is fine.
Don't call me Sue. Just don't.
No.
I'm programmed to not like you if you do. Okay, so a little introduction to, we've got 12 days together. And I know some people are going to be a little bit late. I've heard from Jenny, some of the Sydney people, others. Anyway, so there's a few people who'll be coming in late. So we might have when they come, have a chat about how they want to be caught up, whether they want to buddy off with somebody and they can take you out for a coffee and you catch them up or something like that. But essentially, firstly, for this 6 days rather, we've got a very nice ATM series. It's a real classic ATM series, and I won't say too much about it because it's an extremely experiential series, and it has a particular feature to it that is, to my mind, quite unique. Well, there's a lot of things that are unique about Feldenkrais, but there's quite a unique feature to it, and I want that to unfold. So I don't want it to be a big secret, but it's the nature of it is that it's an experience. I don't want to tell you what it's going to be. The overarching theme from a skill point of view, though, what our learning objective for you is, if you're going to allow us to have one, is that you are in your 2nd year of the training, and this year is very much about learning how to become an awareness through movement teacher. So the skills and knowledge that sit underneath that are really going to underpin this 12 days. So to that end, you've had some learning activities, also known as homework. I love the way you hide these things behind different terms, but that's okay. which hopefully you've done, because we're going to be using that in this first week. So just to put you, just to give you a little heads up, let's just say maybe one or two of you didn't do your learning activities. We're going to be looking at them. Now, where is it? Oh, I've got them written here. So what you did, she said optimistically, is, so this is year 2 segment. I'm a bit echoey, I think. Is that because my head's going down? The goddess is upstairs. Were you tempted to go on a goddess retreat? Pat, were you tempted to go on a goddess retreat? You look like goddess material to me. No, you're not interested. Okay. So you were going to read the Awareness Through Movement chapter in the Elusive Obvious, and that's on the web. I have it on good authority. So if you look at your learning activities, you're going to read it and have a little chat. And then the second part of it was you're going to read that chapter for a second time with, there's 3 dot points. You're going to read it with particular purpose in mind, a particular quest around learning to learn, these learning principles that Feldenkrais talks about in that chapter, what ideal posture is, and you might have read a bit about that too in the Awareness Through Movement text as well. And then you're going to design an activity for yourself. Now, I've scheduled that in. We're going to discuss your musings on that tomorrow. So if you want to refresh your minds about that, tomorrow sometime we'll have a session as a group. We might split up into smaller groups, but we'll go over that chapter. And then the second activity that you had in your learning activities was you're going to develop and prepare to teach an ATM. And Julie has stepped you through quite a process where you've got some templates and which you're going to use as a guide, and then you're going to make sense of one, flesh out the bones, so to speak, and then you're going to teach it to your study buddies and then teach it to some novice people and then teach it again. Yes? Good, head nodding, excellent, okay. So that lesson that you've worked up, you're going to teach to each other this Wednesday. So that's today, Sunday, so you've got another couple of days to get that organised in your head. And maybe, no, I will tell you, the following Wednesday you're going to reteach it. All right? So we will, Fran and I will, maybe we'll ask Jenny too as well, give you feedback on your teaching on the Wednesday, and you can invite feedback from the participants on the floor. And based on that feedback, then you have another week to work on what else you'd like to practice, and then you get to reteach it the next Wednesday, and we'll go through the same process. So the thing that will underpin that is that Julie's given you a checklist, which I also have now here too, somewhere. You can have a look at these too, Fran.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. You know, just to mix it up a bit. So there's this, I went through this last night. So there's this, your checklist, and it starts off with self-use presentation skills. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 main things on the checklist with lots of dot points. Does that ring a bell to you? You got that? No? Not everybody's got that one. Does Julie not give it out? No, maybe you give. All right, let's come up with our own checklist. We might do that tomorrow. And I reckon that would work better. Checklists are in the eye of the beholder. So I read this and I went, yep, I can see that that's that. It's not, and this is what you'll find in Feldenkrais all the time. We all come in, we all have a slightly different viewpoint of things. So we'll create a checklist of what we think are the key characteristics and the key skills and the key sort of things that make a good both an ATM and a good ATM teacher, and we'll use that to frame the feedwork session. All right. So then from that you can pick out what you particularly want to work on. Like it might be that you have a view that your voice is very weak and not very powerful. So that might be something that will be your learning goal that you want to practice. The actual vocal delivery, or it may be that you you don't understand, you have trouble understanding the mechanics of the lesson. So that might be a learning objective to really do that. Or you might freak out when people can't do it, or whatever it is. So we'll go through, we'll create our own checklist. I can guarantee it will marry up with Julie's. It will just be the same pie, but maybe cut up in slightly different pieces. And that will be that. So that's the bare bones of it. For FI practice, we'll continue to do working with each other, with our hands. And the ATM series is very much going to facilitate that. And in particular, this week, we're going to work with people when they're lying on their stomach. Who likes lying on their stomach? Yeah, there's always a couple. Who really doesn't like lying on their stomach? Yeah. So this is what you need to know, is that there will be, a handful of people who really like it and a handful of people who really don't like it, and then the rest of us are sort of ambivalent. But it's generally conditional, right? Isn't it? People will lie on our stomach. We don't mind lying on our stomach if ... So we're going to explore why some people really like it, why people don't like it, and what the ... are. What's the conditions about making prone comfortable for people, and why would we choose to put somebody on their stomach? Who's had an FI on their stomach? Yeah. So people are a bit nervous of it, don't you think? Yeah.
Always all over the world.
Hello.
Oh, a busload.
Are these goddesses that we see before us? Bad luck if you want to be a god.
It's all psychic anyway.
Yeah, right. That's why I thought, why have they got the signs if they're all psychic? It's the old joke, isn't it? You don't need to advertise a psychic fair. Everyone just knows it's on. It's a very old joke. Okay. Right. So any questions? No? So
I want to throw the box. Yeah. Ask a question.
Oh, they're going to be quiet. Are they always shy? A few minutes. Right. They're rapidly warming.
Sunday mornings.
Sunday. It is Sunday. It is so Sunday, isn't it? And it was the election last night, but we're not talking about that. Because there's nothing to say. Literally nothing to say. Okay. All right. So now the last segment that you did was separate, right? The Melbourne people were in Melbourne and the Sydney people were in Sydney. Oh, I know some of those Sydney. Hello. It is the Sydney faces. Well, you are goddesses. I know for sure. Hello. Hello. Oh, well, yeah. Sunday. Now, what I would like you to do, now I'm presuming that you Sydney and Melbourne people have actually integrated well. Oh. What I would like you to buddy up into groups of 4, making sure that there is Sydney and Melbourne people in each group. And I would like you in a non-competitive way to share what the last segment was, what you learnt. Now, there's 2 ways you can do this. You can talk about what was taught in your segment, and you can talk about what was learnt, because they're often 2 different things, aren't they? But I would just like a bit of a calibration between the 2 groups. And then we just come back as a big group and just make sure that everyone's on the same page. Now, the caveat is this is not competitive, and what we don't want to come back, and I'm trusting you to not do this, is to come back and go, oh, the Sydney people learnt this and we have no idea, and the Melbourne people learnt that and we have got no idea about that, and that's not the point of this exercise. The point of this exercise is to find out what was common and what was unique. And it will always be unique, because like I said, there's a difference between what was taught and what you've learnt, because you'll have learnt something, even in the Sydney segment, you'll have all learnt something slightly different. Is that clear enough? So 15 minutes to what was taught, what you remember that was taught, and what you personally learnt. Groups of 4, some kind of mix of Melbourne and Sydney. I don't know what the ratio is. It might be that the Sydney people have to divide themselves up.
And are they going to come back and one person talk about it?
Yeah, we'll just call for the whole thing. Yeah, I think that will work.